over a period of time, create a thin place?
Right.
You know, that's the question that, you know, I struggle with back and forth.
Yeah.
And anyway, I do believe that places are inherently thin, and I think Ireland is certainly one of them. Ireland seems to be on the threshold of some kind of space, of another dimension. It's the only country in the world that was ever, for example, the Christianity came to Ireland, and it with no violence, no martyrs, no. You know, they certainly had plenty of violence there, but not with Christianity. Christianity came, it took hold, it's still there, where every other country in the world had to be dominated and conquered, and people died and were martyred with it. And people that go to Ireland, that conquer that island, become what was there rather than influence it with what they are. You know, the Iberian Celts went in there, and the Nordic people went in there, the French went in there, the British certainly went in there, but every group of people that went into Ireland became what the Irish are rather than influenced Ireland to be what they are. So it's a very, very odd place. And certainly there are sites like that in Scotland, in Wales, in England, that have that same thread common all the way through them.
Well, our technical director in the UK, Andy, I think he's told me he's walked on over there or went to the Stonehenge, and there's another circle of rocks. That's got to be a thin place there, isn't it, Stonehenge?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Stonehenge, they say. With these rocks, you know, we don't understand the technology that these people had a grip on that helped them. The stone circles were undoubtedly put up for charting the seasons. You know, that they really do believe that. These people were an agrarian society, and the seasons made a big difference to them. Their spirituality was rooted in light. You know, they had a fascination with light. Some people believe, and I'm talking, you know, 3,000 years before the Common Era, some of these sites are actually left over from. They may have believed their god was in the sun, but they had a fascination with light and the seasons. These stone circles did chart the seasons, but they also were places of great ritual. And I just read somewhere where Stonehenge has a sister circle almost exactly like it in another spot. And they believe one was equated with life and the other equated with death. Certainly they were mystical places. Nobody can understand how those rocks got there. The Stonehenge rocks came from the Preseli Mountains, which are way over in Wales, and they're huge. So how did they transport them? How did they know how to set them up so that, you know, at the
same way that they built the pyramids, a couple guys with a rope, right? if we're to believe what they tell us, a couple guys with a rope, and, you know, hey, you know, they had like a tool, and they just made perfectly straight lines and 6 sides. Have you ever heard of a rock called the Ayers Rock? Ayres rock?
You know, I have heard of that, and I'm sorry, I can't recall exactly where I know that from.
Okay. All right, so have you been able then to convince others that these thin places exist? I mean, how do you know that you're just not caught up in the moment? I mean, have you brought a person who has never been there, didn't believe in it before, and you said, well, look, you got to go here?
No, I never try to convince anybody, and I've never felt like I had to convince anybody. I almost feel like I'm the one people are trying to convince. I'm almost always questioning to reconvince myself. The people in Ireland don't have any trouble, or in the western lands of the UK, they don't have any trouble believing in this. I was in a bar once that talking to people that were local, and I asked them, "Do you believe in this stuff?" I mean, this whole thing about the fairy forts and the in and out, the thin places where the people from the other world or the beings from the other world can come in and out. And they said, well, you know, they don't want to tell you they don't believe in them. And I finally did wear them down to where this one farmer said, well, for example, you might have a field and it's got one lone bush. And a lone bush is always a sacred site where you say the fairies go in and out from this world to the next. And he said, I may not believe in fairies, and I may not have ever seen anything, but I'll not be cutting down the bush. That's how they feel. They have a great respect for the other world and the belief therein. So I've never had to convince somebody.
Well, I tell you what, I wouldn't want to mow down a fairy fort. It don't sound like you come out... You know, it kind of reminds me of the Cherokee Little People. They say if you mess with the forest with their end, they'll come back and they'll haunt you.
That's true. And I've heard, quite to the contrary, many people asking me, tell me about this, tell me more about that. Where did you go? What did you see? What can I see? You know, there's so much of a curiosity, much more so than a skepticism.
Well, you know, it just seems that the whole concept and the contact and experience of the thin places and the thin worlds and such, is been washed away. It's like they say, a child has no problem seeing these beings, or maybe even a fairy force for that matter, but as we talk them out of it, we rob them from their almost their spiritual sacredness, and we make them into a form of civilization, and then nobody can see anything.
Well, a child has not fully developed the skill that we teach them, which is to experience their entire world through their five senses. They use their other senses, their sensory perceptions. They use that until we, culturalize them into not relying on what you cannot see, feel, taste, touch, or hear. And that's why they're such good models for noticing.
Well, here's a crazy question for you, Mindy. Do you think it's possible that aliens could come through one of these thin world places?
Sure, anything's possible. I mean, it's very possible that it's probable. It's probable that we don't. It's foolish for any human being to rule out such things when there's so little about that we actually know. I mean, of course it could be.
We were up in the Smoky Mountains, and we found some stones in a circle, and somebody told us.
Did you really?
Yeah. And somebody told us that witches go there, and they placed them there as a holy site. They like the high places, in any place that, say, like Skull Mountain or Snake River or any kind of thing, anything to do with that, they would place these stones in a circle. So I'm just wondering, is it the stones or is it more of a circle? I know that the Masons try to conjure up different things with circles and squares and such. So do you think it's more the circle? Or
the circle is a symbol of. It is a symbol that goes against what we can understand. We look at time as linear, as it starts here and it ends there. Right. But the pre-Christian Celts certainly did not believe that. They believed that time was circular. It was continuous revolutions. The seasons turned as well as life and death, and that's why you see the stones set in a circle. It's why when you go to the really ancient tombs, you see these spirals carved into these stones. They were. It's widely believed they were sending a message. They were marking what they believed to be the way time actually exists. So therefore, if time was a circle and you're coming around, you're passing by that which happened long ago and that which may be happening in the future. It's kind of one simultaneous experience that we just move in different circles. So that's where the circle is rooted. Now, the men or women placed stones in a circle, but that's why they did it, because their perception of time was. Do you think
the term Stargate could be applicable to one of these thin places?
Could be, sure.
Stargate. So you think it's possible that if you hit a really, really thin place, that you could just go right through there and disappear?
I would never presume to say something was impossible. I just wouldn't do it. I'm not intelligent enough to know those things, so I certainly wouldn't rule anything out. Yeah. I think mystical things happen in these places. Things that are unexplained have certainly happened to me over and over and over again, but I have been to those countries a lot. There's a magnetism about these countries, and I've never seen. I've been to every one of the United States, every one of the states except Alaska. So I've been all over this country, and I've been to several other countries. And I've talked to a lot of people that travel. And if you had talked to somebody that's been to Ireland, and you ask them, would you like to go back? I've never had anybody say no. But if you ask somebody if they've been to, I don't want to trash another location, but anywhere else, you don't always get that response. Yes, I want to go back there. You might get, well, I'd like to see something different now. But never, there's something that continues to draw you back to these places. You think about them. You want to be there. You see a picture of them. You think, I wish I was there. I remember that experience there. So this magnetic draw is an important piece of it. And who knows why that happens. I just know that it does happen.
Mindy, we had a guest on the program here a couple months ago, a lady who believed that she was a reincarnated crazy horse, and it happened after she went, I guess, till she went to his burial ground or his area. I'm just wondering, do you think that maybe she actually hit a thin place and his persona came through this thin place portal and took her over?
I've been to the Crazy Horse Monument and all over the Badlands. And